Thanks, Brandis. Over a year into the COVID-19 pandemic and still so many unknowns about the virus. Among these, the mystery symptom of losing the senses of smell and taste. And joining us to discuss his research findings on how the virus is affecting those things is Dr. Sandeep Robert Datta, professor of neurobiology at Harvard Medical School. Dr. Datta, thank you so much for being here. So you led a team that researched why these symptoms persist in so many COVID-19 patients. What did you find?
Yes, so we were really curious, I think like many people, how it is that this virus attacks your sense of smell and your sense of taste. And so together with a large team of international collaborators, we kind of probed the cells in your nose that are responsible for allowing you to smell. And through our research, we were able to propose one possible way that we think this virus is causing many of the people who get infected with the virus to lose their sense of smell.
All right, for the layperson, explain what that one possible way is.
Sure. So smells, odors, they're really chemicals that are floating through the air. And when you take a sniff into your nose, you inhale a bunch of these chemicals into your nose, and they travel to the back of your nose where there's a specialized tissue called the olfactory epithelium. And the olfactory epithelium has a bunch of different types of cells within it. One of the most important type of cell that lives in your olfactory epithelium is called a neuron. And these are neurons, just like the neurons in your, you think, but they don't live in your brain. They live actually inside of your nose. And they have little sensors that interact with chemicals that you're breathing in and sniffing through your nose. And when these neurons interact with odors, they send electrical signals to your brain that tells your brain what it is exactly you're smelling. Now, these neurons are really fragile, and they're surrounded by lots of cells called support cells that basically kind of physically support these neurons, help them stand up. They offer the neurons energy, and they make sure the ion balance around the cell is perfect. And these support cells are also essential for your sense of smell. And what we proposed in our research is that the virus is likely to act to cause you to lose your sense of smell by primarily infecting these support cells. And in work that's been done since the time my lab kind of got into this problem, from human patients, it seems pretty clear that this virus attacks the support cells in your nose, and in doing so causes most patients that have COVID to have some degree of smell loss.
And most patients do recover that smell and taste loss, but some have experienced this for 6 months or more, even a year. Has your research discovered anything into those cases?
Yeah, so again, as with everything in this pandemic, we're kind of learning as we go. What we think is that there are basically two kinds of patients. In the first kind, they get infected, these support cells get infected, there's a lot of inflammation, and that temporarily shuts down your sense of smell. And when you clear the virus, the inflammation goes away, the cells get better, the support cells get better, and then you can smell again. But in some patients, we think that the fact that these support cells get infected really causes damage to this olfactory epithelium, and actually might cause some of the neurons in your nose to die. And one of the very special things about the olfactory epithelium is that the neurons inside the epithelium can actually regenerate. They can regrow and rewire into your brain, but that takes time. And so we think that in some patients, they get infected with the virus and they lose the neurons that are responsible for your sense of smell, and those have to be rebuilt. And so that can often take months. And in some cases, we know now the pandemic has gone on, it can take more than a year.
They need to be rebuilt. And do patients actually have to do work to do that? And I bring this up because I'm sure you're aware, esteemed Harvard neurobiologist, of this video on social media of putting an orange on your burner and burning it, and then putting brown sugar on it, and poof, problem solved. I mean, any merit to this at all? And if not, is there a way to rebuild those neurons for patients that are experiencing these symptoms?
Yeah, I too was excited when I saw that video. It definitely circulated around my colleagues. Unfortunately, as far as I know, there's no scientific evidence that you can regain your sense of smell by just briefly smelling a burnt orange. There is some evidence for something called smell therapy, where you get some common smells that are pretty strong, things like peppermint oil or maybe cloves, and a couple times a day, you smell them and you tell yourself what they are. And it's thought through mechanisms we don't really understand that this experience with familiar smells repeatedly might improve the rate at which you recover. And there is actually some clinical evidence, although it's not very strong, there is some evidence that supports that as a strategy to help people with long-term loss of their sense of smell perhaps recover more quickly.
All right, Dr. Sandeep Datta, very interesting research, a lot that you and your team are still discovering about this very strange but pervasive symptom for COVID-19. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.